The mahogany conference table in my father's study had witnessed many family meetings over the years, but none quite like this one. The late afternoon sun streamed through the tall windows, casting long shadows across the faces of the people who had shaped my entire life. My parents, Victor and Patricia Castellano, sat at opposite ends like monarchs presiding over their court. My older brother Marcus lounged in his chair with that insufferable smirk he'd perfected since childhood, while my younger sister Bianca scrolled through her phone, barely paying attention. I cleared my throat and placed the manila folder I'd been clutching onto the polished surface. The sound echoed in the suddenly quiet room. "I've been thinking about the future of Castellano Enterprises," I began, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "And I'd like to make you all an offer." My father's bushy eyebrows rose slightly. After 37 years in the construction business, Victor Castellano had built an empire worth approximately $50 million. Shopping centers, office buildings, residential developments. The Castellano name was synonymous with quality construction throughout the tri-state area. The family business had always been his pride and joy, and everyone knew it would eventually pass to Marcus, the golden child who'd been groomed for leadership since birth. "What kind of offer?" Patricia asked, setting down her crystal water glass with practiced elegance. Even at family meetings, my mother dressed like she was attending a board meeting at Fortune 500 company. I took a deep breath. "I want to buy out your shares. All of them. I'll purchase the entire company." The silence that followed was deafening. Then, like a dam bursting, the laughter began. Marcus was the first to crack, his deep chuckle growing into full-blown hysteria. "Buy us out. Elena, are you feeling okay? Did you hit your head on something?" Bianca looked up from her phone for the first time all evening, her perfectly manicured eyebrows raised in amusement. "Wait, Elena wants to buy the company? That's actually hilarious." But it was my father's reaction that cut the deepest. He reached across the table and patted my head like I was still the 12-year-old girl who used to bring him coffee on construction sites. "Sweetheart, buying us out? With what money? Your little marketing job." The condescension in his voice was like a physical blow. My little marketing job. As if my career was some cute hobby I'd picked up to pass the time between family dinners. "I'm serious," I said, my voice remaining calm despite the storm building inside me. "I have the capital, and I have a legitimate offer." "Capital?" My mother's laugh was like tinkling glass, sharp and cutting. "Elena, dear, you work for that tiny marketing firm. What do you make, 40,000 a year? 50? Even if you saved every penny for the next century, you couldn't afford a down payment on one of our smaller projects." Marcus leaned back in his chair, arms crossed over his chest. "Dad, maybe we should have her committed. This is clearly some kind of mental breakdown. Or maybe she's been reading too many self-help books," Bianca added, not looking up from her phone. "You know, manifestation for dummies or something." The family erupted in fresh laughter, as if I'd just told the funniest joke they'd ever heard. I sat there, watching them mock me, feeling the familiar sting of being the outsider in my own family. It was a sensation I'd grown accustomed to over the years, being the overlooked middle child who never quite measured up to their expectations. "I have $12 million, I said quietly. The laughter didn't stop immediately. It took a moment for my words to penetrate their amusement. "What did you say?" my father asked, his chuckling subsiding. "I said I have $12 million in liquid assets, and I'm prepared to offer it for full ownership of Castellano Enterprises." This time, the silence was different. Heavier. Marcus straightened in his chair, his smirk faltering slightly. Bianca actually put her phone down. My parents exchanged a look I couldn't quite decipher. Then my mother started laughing again, but it sounded forced now, uncertain. "Elena, sweetheart, $12 million? Where on earth would you get that kind of money? Did you rob a bank? Or maybe she's been selling drugs," Marcus suggested, but his joke fell flat. Something in his eyes had changed, a flicker of doubt, perhaps even concern. I opened the manila folder and pulled out a bank statement. The numbers on the page were real, printed in stark black ink on official letterhead. I placed it in the center of the table where everyone could see it. "Digital Horizon Marketing Solutions," I said calmly. "You know, my little marketing job. The company I've been running for the past 8 years. My father leaned forward, squinting at the document. His face went through several expressions, confusion, disbelief, then something approaching shock. This can't be right," he mumbled, reaching for his reading glasses. "It's quite right," I assured him. "Digital Horizon specializes in online marketing for tech startups. We've helped launch 17 companies that went on to achieve billion-dollar valuations. Our commission structure is performance-based. When our clients succeed, we succeed spectacularly. Marcus snatched the bank statement from our father's hands, his eyes scanning the numbers frantically. 12.7 million, he read aloud, his voice barely above a whisper. That's just the liquid assets, I clarified. The total value of my portfolio is closer to 18 million, but I'm offering 12 for the company. It's a fair price, actually quite generous considering your current debt situation. Debt situation? Patricia's voice cracked slightly. What debt situation? I pulled another document from my folder. The Riverside Mall project. You're 3 months behind on loan payments. The bank is threatening foreclosure. The Oakwood residential development has been stalled for 6 months due to permit issues, but you're still paying interest on the construction loans. Should I continue? The room fell silent. I could hear the grandfather clock ticking in the corner, marking time like a countdown to detonation. How do you know about any of this? My father demanded, his face flushed red. Because I make it my business to know. I've been watching this company struggle for months, waiting for the right moment to make my move. Castellano Enterprises is hemorrhaging money, and you're all too proud to admit it. Marcus stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the hardwood floor. This is insane. Elena, you can't just waltz in here with some bank statement and think you can take over our family business. Why not? I ask simply. You've never wanted me involved before. Every time I offered to help, you told me to stick to my little marketing job. Every family meeting, every business decision, every major contract. I was excluded because I wasn't qualified enough, wasn't experienced enough, wasn't male enough. That's not true, my mother protested, but her voice lacked conviction. Isn't it? When Marcus graduated college with a C average, you handed him a vice president title. When I graduated summa cum laude with my MBA, you offered me a summer internship. When Bianca wanted to start her lifestyle blog, you funded it with $50,000 from the company account. When I asked for a loan to start my business, you told me entrepreneurship was too risky for someone like me. The accusations hung in the air like smoke. Each word was true, and we all knew it. Someone like you? Bianca asked quietly. What did they mean by that? I met her gaze steadily. A woman. They meant someone like me shouldn't be trusted with real money or real responsibility. Victor slammed his hand on the table, making everyone jump. That's enough. Elena, I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but this family business will stay in the family. Marcus is my heir, and that's final. Marcus, who's driven 3 company vehicles into the ground and lost 2 major contracts due to his drinking problem? I asked calmly. Marcus, who embezzled $30,000 from the employee pension fund last year? My brother's face went white. You can't prove that. Actually, I can. I pulled out another document. Bank records, timestamps, video surveillance from the casino where you spent the money. I've been building quite the comprehensive file. The room erupted into chaos. Marcus started shouting denials, Bianca was demanding explanations, and my parents were talking over each other in increasingly frantic voices. I sat calmly in the center of the storm, watching my family implode. Finally, I stood up and gathered my papers. My offer stands for 48 hours. $12 million cash for 100% ownership of Castellano Enterprises. I'll assume all debts, retain all employees, and honor all existing contracts. You can walk away clean, or you can watch this company collapse under the weight of its own dysfunction. Elena, wait. My father called as I headed for the door. I paused, my hand on the doorknob. I'm done waiting, Dad. I've waited 32 years for you to see me as more than just your disappointing daughter. I built a multi-million-dollar company from nothing while you were telling everyone I worked a little marketing job. I'm not waiting anymore. I walked out of that house and didn't look back. 48 hours later, I was sitting in my downtown office when my assistant buzzed me. Elena, there's a courier here with an urgent delivery. The envelope contained exactly what I expected. The signed purchase agreement transferring full ownership of Castellano Enterprises to me, along with a brief note from my father. We accept your terms. I immediately called my bank and arranged for the wire transfer. $12 million sent with the press of a few buttons. Then I sat back and waited. I didn't have to wait long. My phone started ringing within an hour of the transfer confirmation. The first call was from Marcus, then Bianca, then my mother, then my father. I let them all go to voicemail. By the end of the day, I had 47 missed calls and 36 text messages, ranging from frantic to apologetic to downright desperate. One voicemail from my mother stood out. "Elena, sweetheart, we need to talk. Maybe we were too hasty. Maybe we can work something out. A partnership, perhaps? Please call me back." Another from Marcus. "Elena, this is crazy. You can't just buy our lives out from under us. This is our legacy, our history. Please, let's sit down and discuss this rationally." And one from my father that almost made me laugh. "Elena, I've been thinking about what you said. Maybe I was wrong about your capabilities. Maybe we should have included you more. Can we schedule a meeting?" But I didn't return their calls. Instead, I spent the evening reviewing the company files that were now legally mine. The situation was even worse than I'd suspected. Castellano Enterprises was 3 months away from bankruptcy. The debt load was crushing, several major projects were behind schedule, and employee morale was at an all-time low. It would take significant work to turn the company around. But I had plans. Real plans, based on actual business strategy, rather than old boy networking and wishful thinking. The next morning, I drove to the Castellano Enterprises headquarters for the first time as owner. The receptionist, Maria, looked surprised to see me. "Miss Elena, I didn't know you were visiting today." "I'm not visiting, Maria. I'm the new owner." Her eyes widened, but she recovered quickly. "Congratulations. Will you be needing anything?" "Actually, yes. Please arrange a company-wide meeting for this afternoon. And could you ask Marcus to clear out his office? I'll need it for the new operations director I'm hiring." Word spread quickly through the building. By noon, everyone knew that the overlooked daughter had somehow bought out the entire Castellano family. The afternoon meeting was packed, with employees crowding into the largest conference room. I stood at the front of the room, looking out at faces I'd known for years. People who'd watched me grow up, who'd always treated me as Victor's little girl rather than a serious businesswoman. "I know this transition is unexpected," I began, "but I want to assure you that my priority is stabilizing this company and securing everyone's jobs. Over the next few weeks, we'll be implementing new systems, new processes, and new leadership. Anyone who's committed to excellence and professionalism will have a place here. Anyone who isn't can update their resume." The transformation didn't happen overnight, but it happened. Within 6 months, Castellano Enterprises was profitable again. Within a year, we'd paid off all outstanding debts and secured 3 major new contracts. I hired experienced project managers, implemented digital tracking systems, and established performance-based bonuses that actually motivated results. My family tried to reconnect several times. They showed up at company events, called on holidays, and even staged an intervention of sorts where they all appeared at my apartment with apologies and explanations. But I'd learned something important in those 48 hours between making my offer and receiving their acceptance. Respect that has to be bought isn't really respect at all. The last time I saw my father, he asked me if I ever regretted buying them out. "No," I told him honestly. "I regret that it took me 32 years to realize I didn't need your approval to be successful." Today, Castellano Enterprises, now renamed Horizon Construction Solutions, is worth $42 million. We employ over 300 people, and we're expanding into sustainable building practices and green technology. Sometimes people ask me if I miss my family. The truth is, I miss the family I thought I had, the one where love wasn't conditional on conforming to their expectations. But I don't miss being invisible in my own life. The $12 million I spent wasn't just a business acquisition. It was the price of my freedom, my self-respect, and my future. And honestly, it was the best investment I ever made. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.